Namah Shri Athirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swami Tapaharini Paratmanamekam Jagadbijamadhyam Niriham Nirakaram Omkara Vidyam Yato Jayate Palyate Yena Vishwam Tamisham Bhaje Liyate Yatra Vishwam Hari Om Tatsat Hari Om Tatsat Hari Om Tatsat. My pranams to revered Swami Shuddhidanandaji Maharaj, to revered Swami Adhyaksha Maharaj, other Swamis assembled here, and my namaskars and best wishes to all of you, my dear students. Today we have all assembled here to deliberate upon Swami Vivekananda. What we can learn from this great personality who has been at the center of India's evolution in the modern history. Now, my subject here is Swami Vivekananda as a source of inspiration for the youth of this country. As we are already running late by almost 20-25 minutes, so I shall try to keep my deliberation in brief. It is not possible for us to go into the details now, but still I will try to touch upon the important points. When we talk about the youth force, in this creation we have different kinds of forces. You all know that. We have the force of electricity, the force of magnetism, we have the gravitational force. These are all material forces. And these material forces can be controlled by mechanical means. But this youth force which we are going to discuss today, we are going to discuss today the youth force. Unlike the material forces, the youth force belongs to a different category. This cannot be handled by mechanical means. The handling of this force is possible only by conscious means. So first of all, we need to understand what we are actually discussing, this great youth force that is available to India today. In India today, you all know that India is one amongst those few countries which can be said to be a young country. Young country in the sense, today in India, the average age of the citizen of India is 29. According to the statistics, today more than 60% of India's population is beneath 35 years of age. Please note this point. Today, more than 60% of India's population, if we are 130 crores, out of that, more than 60% of India's population is less than 35 years of age. More than 50% of India's population is less than 25 years of age. That means today, roughly speaking, in India, we have around 800 million young men and women who are less than 35 years of age. 80 crore. This youth force which today India has, no other country on the planet today has got this advantage. This is called a demographic advantage which comes in once in several centuries for a particular country. Today India has got this great democratic advantage. And this democratic advantage is already giving us a demographic dividend. What is this demographic dividend? It is a technical term, but I shall put it in simple terms. When in a country's population, suppose India, in this country's population, if there is a change in the age structure of the population, and if that change in the age structure of the population brings about an economic growth, that economic growth brought about by the change in the population's age structure is referred to as demographic dividend. It is a dividend which comes from, it is an economic growth which comes from a change in the population's age structure. In the coming 3 decades, according to the experts, India is going to have a massive demographic dividend, a massive demographic dividend. And this is going to catapult India into the #1 position. My dear friends, please listen to this very carefully because we are discussing you all. This is going to happen through the instrumentality of you people. A couple of years ago, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam ji, our dear and honorable ex-president of India, he was once asked by a young man in one such program. The young man asked him, "Doctor, what are the major strengths and the major weaknesses of India?" This was a simple question. Straight away, Dr. Kalam answered, "Strength of India, you are the strength of India." You means the youth. He was referring to the 800 million young men and women of this country. India's biggest asset today is you people. You people have to feel this intensely, and you have to place yourself at the center of India. Try to visualize India's map. You are not in the center of Bengal. Try to visualize yourself at the heart of India, at the center of India, and you have a great role to play in the coming 3 decades. Why I am saying 3 decades? According to the experts, this demographic dividend which we are talking about, it has started from 2005 onwards, and this is going to last till 2055. Already 15 years have gone by. We have roughly, closely 35 years left before us. So the next 3 decades are going to be very crucial as far as India's position on the global stage is concerned. I sometimes wonder, this present situation where we are existing today, in the first half of the 21st century, did Swami Vivekananda foresee this event? This thought comes to my mind. Why? Swami Vivekananda had foreseen many things during his lifetime. And based upon those foresights, he had made many predictions. And mind you, each and every prediction of his has come true. I don't want to go into the details of that. You all know what Swami Vivekananda had told about Russia. In 1896, he was talking about the rise of Russia, the first proletarian state. He said that first Russia will rise, followed by Russia, China will rise, and followed by China, India will rise and lead the world. This was Swami Vivekananda's prediction in 1896. Just imagine. He had predicted about the First World War in 1896 itself. He had said that, see, Europe is sitting on the edge of a volcano. Any time this Europe can erupt and burst. Within 20 years of his foresight and prediction, the First World War broke out. We know this. In this way, we can go on. In every single prediction that he had made, all those predictions have come true. That is why I say that, did Swami Vivekananda foresee the emergence of this kind of a demographic advantage in the beginning of 21st century? Did he foresee this in the last decade of 19th century? That is my question. Absolutely, there is no reason why we should not presume that Swamiji had foreseen this. Because as far as building this new India is concerned, Swamiji had pinned all his hopes on the youth and youth alone. We all know this very well. Is it not? Just during his lifetime, after coming back from America in 1897, all those fiery talks and lectures which he gave, starting from the southernmost tip of India up to Almora, which is today famously known as lectures from Colombo to Almora, every single lecture was a clarion call to the youth of this nation to come and contribute to build a new India. He knew it is the youth of this nation alone who can build this new India. And moved and inspired by Swami Vivekananda's words, the youth were galvanized into action. They threw themselves in the battlefield of freedom struggle, and within 50 years, India became free, 1947. It is unfortunate. After 1947, we again forgot Vivekananda. For some time, there was a lull. In the first part of the 20th century, the entire Indian population literally followed Vivekananda's word, and that was actually the result. It resulted in the attainment of India's freedom. But after 1947, when India became politically freed from the British rule, we forgot Vivekananda, and we knew what happened after that for a few decades. Now, once again, in the last 10 years, you will see once again, Vivekananda is the talk of the town. He is the talk of the city. He is the talk of the state. He is the talk of the entire nation. Especially this can be seen since 2013, when we celebrated Swami Vivekananda's 150th birth anniversary. Since then, once again, Vivekananda is at the center stage of India's development. He is being discussed at all levels. He is inspiring everyone, right from the topmost politician down to the roadside lay person. Everybody is discussing Vivekananda, every nook and corner. Now, this is one such meeting which I am addressing here. Recently, I got many such chances to address the young people. Everywhere I found tremendous enthusiasm and zeal, discussing about Vivekananda's ideas, what we can learn from Vivekananda's personality. So Vivekananda's power to inspire the young minds, ignite the young minds, it is unparalleled. India was built by Vivekananda, and it is once again going to make a big impact in this century, and it is Vivekananda's ideas which will move the youth of this country now in the next 3 decades to catapult India into #1 position. This is going to happen. We have no choice. We have no alternative. This is just going to happen, my dear friends. Take this point very seriously. That's why I'm requesting all of you to visualize yourself standing in the center of India, not in Bengal. Again, I'm telling this. Come out of this Bengal syndrome. Think about yourself at the center of India. You are going to be the builder of this great nation. Vivekananda had pinned all his hopes on the youth of this country. Now one question comes. What do we mean by youth and youth force? This needs to be a little bit understood. It's a very important thing. Now when we talk about the young people, how do we define youth? Who is a young person? Who is a young boy or a young girl? According to the experts, any person who is within the age group of 15 to 25 is called a young man or a young woman. Between 15 to 25. Once you cross 25, you slowly move towards becoming a middle-aged person. Technically speaking, the youth refers to anyone who is within the age group of 15 to 25. But this understanding of youth or a young person is entirely based upon the idea that we are the body. It is the age of the body that we are calculating. The body is 15 years old or say 20 years old. We call that person, most of you, all of you are young persons in this sense. But you're not going to remain young persons forever. 10 years later, you won't be eligible to sit in this room for this program. You will become old. Those who were old yesterday, those who were young yesterday, they will become old tomorrow. And those who have become old, they were once upon a time young people. So this youthfulness which we are talking about, this is a passing phase. My dear friends, remember, this is not going to remain with you all the time. This is a very small span of human time, just going to last for a few moments. It will just slip away from between your fingers. It is a passing stage. It will go away. We have to make the best use of this time. This youth time, the youthfulness is the best stage of human life for everything. Whether you talk about worldly developments, that can be best done when you are young. Whether you talk about spiritual attainments, that is also best done when we are young. So our understanding of youthfulness is completely presently based upon the body idea. The body is so many years old, and that's why we say we are young or we are old. This idea about youthfulness is a temporary idea of youthfulness. My question is, please listen to this very carefully. Is there anything within this human system which doesn't become old? Which never becomes old? This is the question. I'm going deeper into the subject of what do we mean by being young and being youthful. Is there anything in this human system which doesn't become old? There is one thing, my dear friends, and that thing is referred to as Atman. In our scriptures, Atman is referred to as Ajara, Amara. In Sanskrit, Ajara means that which is devoid of Jara. Jara means old age. This Atman is the one thing which doesn't become old. So, the real youthfulness comes from the Atman idea. So, there is a need for us to rise above our false idea of youthfulness to the real idea of youthfulness which comes from the Atman idea. The youthfulness which comes from the body, it is just going to last for a few years. But for a person who has understood himself or herself to be something deeper, that which is beyond the body and the mind, he or she will understand what it really means to be young and the power which comes from that Atman idea. the real sense of power and real sense of freedom which comes from this Atman idea. Now, why I'm talking about this is, Vivekananda was the greatest teacher of this Atman ideology. If you look at this picture which stands here, just look at this picture. What is it? It is Atman in a certain form. That radiance on that person's face, that light in that person's eyes, it is all the light of the Atman. Vivekananda says, my idea can be put into a few words to preach unto humanity their divinity and how to make it manifest in every movement of their lives. Just imagine, Swami Vivekananda had no other mission. Only one mission, my dear young boys and girls, that is to preach to you who you truly are. He was the greatest teacher of this Atman philosophy, an Atman which is ajara, which doesn't get old. The real youthfulness, the real power of youthfulness comes from the power of the Atman. And Swami Vivekananda was the greatest, as I said, preacher. In fact, it is very interesting. Why is India referred to as Amar Bharat, the eternal India? It doesn't die, it cannot die, because the root ideology of this great Indian civilization and Indian culture is the ideology of the Atman. The great idea given by the Hindu Sanatana Dharma to the entire world. This is the only ideology which can save human race today. There is no ideology which can do that. This is the only ideology which can tie the entire human race into one family, which preaches the inherent, undying divine source within each man and woman. So this is the great purpose for which Vivekananda had come, and he is the living, throbbing source of inspiration for all of us to understand what is our true nature. Just imagine Swami Vivekananda's clarion call. He had told everyone, teach yourselves, teach everyone his real nature. Call upon the sleeping soul and see how it awakes. Power will come, glory will come, goodness will come, everything that is excellent will come. The sleeping soul is roused to self-conscious activity. His whole one mission was to rouse the sleeping souls. Just like in the morning, Swami Jnanalokanandaji was referring to, half of the people were sleeping here. Swami Vivekananda came to rouse us from this slumber of ages. India has been sleeping, our youth have been sleeping. It is time to awake now. During Swami Vivekananda's time, he came and he woke up. He made the young people wake up, and they girded up their loins and they fought for India's freedom, and India became liberated. That was the first big liberation driven by Vivekananda's ideas. Now the second big liberation is going to come in the next 3 decades. India will be catapulted to #1 position, which was Vivekananda's dream. Swamiji says, my one dream is that India should once again conquer the entire world. Just imagine his vision. And this he was speaking in 1890s, when there was darkness all around. Just imagine, the whole country steeped in tamas, poverty, backwardness, superstition, absolutely in an abject poverty. That was the state of India in 1890s, and this continued till 1947. In 1947, the richest country once upon a time, the greatest civilization in this entire world, had become an object of pity for the entire world in 1947 when the British left this country. And from there, 75 years have gone by. India has made great developments, absolutely no doubt. In spite of our laziness, in spite of our any number of deficiencies and mistakes, India has made progress. There is no doubt about it. It has to make the progress. And especially in the last 10 years, once again, this great motherland of ours is now once again going to rise. This prediction Vivekananda had made in 1897. It gives me goosebumps when I think about that beautiful statement. Swami Vivekananda's talk at Ramnad. What did he see? He was literally seeing the future of India. Standing there in the southernmost step, he is saying, the longest night seems to be passing away. The sorest trouble seems to be coming to an end at last. India, this my motherland of ours, is awakening from a deep, long slumber. None can resist her anymore. No outward power can hold her back anymore. And never again is she going to sleep anymore, for this infinite giant is rising to her feet. It gives me goosebumps when I think about it. How could Vivekananda say this in 1897 when there was not a single ray of light at that time? But he was a rishi. He was looking 125, 150, 500 years ahead of his time. And we are already seeing the signs of that. So the bottom line of my whole this discussion is that, my dear friends, try to feel yourself at the center of this country, and there is a great onus and responsibility on your shoulders. You may be studying in whichever stream you want. You have your aims, but remember one thing. There are two ways in which youth can lead their lives. Either they can lead a very self-centered life, which will be a great waste to this nation. Today, India needs you all. So please try to change your vision and your attitudes. It is very vital for this country. Swamiji had said, youth can either lead in self-centered life, or they can live in nation-centered life. It is the journey from the self-centered life to the nation-centered life which is the journey of man-making. This journey from self-centered life to nation-centered life is the journey of character building. This journey from self-centered life to the nation-centered life is the very journey of making India. So Swamiji's one message, the inspiration that we can derive from Swami Vivekananda is to lead a selfless life, a life which is based on sacrifice. Our attitudes have to change, my dear friends. Instead of thinking what I will get from the country, always think what I can do for the country. Change your attitudes. This is what is going to make a huge difference in the coming decades. What can I do for my society? What can I do for my surrounding? It is not that you are going to do a big things. No. Each person, where he is, she is, from that very place, can you make a slight difference to your surrounding? What can I do for others? That is the spirit. This is what Vivekananda expected. And remember, the Indian youth force, and this is not an exaggeration, this Indian youth force, you, all of you, this is one of the finest and the best youth force existing in the world. This is the best youth force that is existing in the entire world. The Westerners, they want Indians. Unfortunately, instead of Indians investing their energies in this country, they are dreaming to go abroad and use their talents for foreign countries. Today, the time has come when the youth of this country have to think. They have to think about, what can I do for my motherland? There is a famous phrase in English, strike when the iron is hot. You have heard this phrase? It's a very famous phrase. Strike when the iron is hot. Now the time has come to strike. This is the time when India has got a tremendous demographic advantage. It is a time to strike, and you have to strike. You have to strike so hard that India once again gains back its lost glory, and Swami Vivekananda's that dream of once again India becoming #1 should become fulfilled. Thank you so much.